One of the hallmarks of being an InterVarsity student is manuscript Bible study with your chapter. For alumni, it's one of the most beloved memories, and it's also one of the things that we oftentimes miss the most. Well, great news, manuscript.bible is the perfect place to recapture some of those Bible study experiences that you loved so much. Join your fellow alumni as we study Scripture online together. Make observations, ask and answer questions together, and continue learning how to contextualize and apply Scripture to your life as a world changer. Check out manuscript.bible and use promo code WorldChangersPod at checkout for a free 1-month trial. And come study the Bible with us again, alumni.
We were reading the story of the woman with the alabaster jar. This woman carries this expensive jar of perfume and breaks it for Jesus. And everyone around her says that was completely wasteful. And Jesus says what she has done is a beautiful thing. It's the first time in Mark where that word beauty is mentioned. What would it look like to actually create beautiful pieces of artwork that pointed people to God? Hi everyone, I'm Chung. I'm an InterVarsity alum, and I'm helping the world experience God as beautiful with Alabaster. Welcome to InterVarsity World Changers.
Brian, welcome to InterVarsity World Changers.
Yes, I'm so excited to be here. Thanks for having me, John.
I'm so glad you're here. This is going to be a lot of fun. Brian, give us a snapshot of Alabaster. Help us get to know you a bit, and tell us some of your vision for the impact of the work that you're doing on God's world.
Yeah. The first thing that I'll say is that Alabaster would not be here without InterVarsity.
Wow.
And so InterVarsity has deeply impacted me, and it has deeply impacted Alabaster. And so I'll share a little bit about our story, and then I think you'll connect the dots and you'll hear why.
Yeah.
I mean, the origin story, the Genesis story had to do with InterVarsity. Our first hire was an InterVarsity alum. Our second hire was an InterVarsity staff. We got funded through a Kickstarter by InterVarsity.
Wow, what? Okay, I love this. Keep going.
Yes. And how I lead and I think about leadership is because of the leadership training that has happened through InterVarsity.
Wow.
And so, I mean, I would not be a Christian without InterVarsity. And so for me, I think about like, okay, if InterVarsity did not exist, would Alabaster exist? Okay, so how did Alabaster come about?
Yeah.
So you might be surprised to hear that I didn't, like I said, I didn't grow up Christian.
Okay.
I grew up in a Buddhist household.
Wow. Okay.
I became Christian in college through InterVarsity. And I remember, I was doing a lot of different things my freshman year. And I met some really, really cool InterVarsity folks. They invited me to their first party. In their party, we played a bunch of board games. And I've never had so much fun at a college party than at that party.
That's awesome. That's so great. Oh man! And what campus was this happening on?
Yes. Okay. Yes. Great question. University of Southern California. So USC. I'm currently based in Los Angeles. Okay. I'm originally from Hawaii. Okay. And let's see here. So I remember they invited me to what they would call a God investigation group. They called it a gig. So it's a place for people to explore faith and God without the pressures of other Christians in the group. And so this group was particularly for people who didn't identify as Christian. Okay. And so it was a really great and safe place for me to ask questions about faith and God. I guess long story short, they invited me to an InterVarsity camp, a 1-week camp. And look, all they said is, we're going to have a bunch of fun at this camp. Okay? No other context. It's going to be tons of fun.
There you
First
go.
day, 8 hours of manuscript Bible study.
Whoa. Oh my goodness. Were you
Second
studying
day.
the book of Mark by
I was
chance?
studying the book of Mark,
I
and not
knew
just
it had
any
to be.
part in Mark. This is Mark, the second half. And so
Oh gosh.
Jesus is on his way to die on the cross.
Oh.
The most intense side of Mark.
Yeah. Holy cow.
I remember we would talk about it. Like Mark, the first half of Mark is this is who I am. The second half of Mark is this is what it means to follow me. And so this was sort of my like first exposure into deep dive, 8 hours manuscript study every single day for about a week.
Wow.
And I remember by the first time I was like, why did my friends invite me to this? This is not what I signed up for.
Yeah.
But there was this moment, I think it was day 3 or day 4, where I never expected this to happen. We were reading the book of, not the book, the story of the women with the alabaster jar. And I'm sure you all know this story because I'm sure you all studied the book of Mark. Is this woman carries this expensive jar of perfume, and breaks it for Jesus. And everyone around her says that was completely wasteful. And Jesus says what she has done is a beautiful thing.
Oh.
And I think it's the first time in Mark where that word beauty is mentioned. Anyways, we can go to that in Alabaster later. But I would say for me, that was the first. As we were just discussing that and what does it look like to break our jar for Jesus? What does that jar represent in our lives? And I don't know what it was in that moment, but I remember I just started crying because I felt God speaking to me.
Wow.
And again, I never signed up. I didn't sign up for this. I didn't know what this week-long
Yeah, you signed up for fun.
For fun. But it was in that moment that God really, really started to speak to me. After that, they invited me and they said, do you want to accept Jesus into your life and become a Christian? And of course, I said no. I said, I want to go back to Hawaii where I have no Christian family, no Christian background. And if you are real there, then I will become a Christian.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
So
I'm signed up for the second half of this story.
Anyways, it's a shorter half. I go to Hawaii. 2 of my close friends, they become Christian in college. They start a Bible study in Hawaii. They invite me. And in that moment, I remember going to my bedroom in my journal and I'm writing, God, you showed up. I guess I'm Christian now.
Wow.
And then, from there, I was like, I gotta get a Bible.
Yeah.
Sorry. Anyways, so I made a decision to follow Jesus. Best decision I've ever made in my life. And I was like, next thing I need to have is a Bible. So I went to the local Christian bookstore in Hawaii, bought my first leather-bound Bible. And I mean, it's what you expect from a traditional Bible.
Yes.
Nothing wrong with it. It was just, leather-bound. The first couple pages actually wasn't the story of the Bible. It was about the translation. It had maps. It had things to fill out. Some words were in black. Other words were in red. Did not know what that meant at the time. Manuscripts did not have red text.
Yeah. They left you in the dust on that one.
And it was, small text on very, very thin paper. And it was just unlike any other book that I've ever read in my life. And so I was excited to read the Bible, just a little intimidated. Fast forward sophomore year, so that's after my freshman year. The summer was in between my freshman and sophomore year. I'm studying business and I go to my marketing class, and my marketing textbook, I was so excited to read my marketing textbook. And here's why. It was designed like a magazine. And so I was so excited to read my first, like any college textbook, just because of how it was designed. And then I looked at my Bible and I thought, could the Bible be designed differently?
Wow.
I didn't do anything about it at the time. After graduating college, I went on staff with InterVarsity, was on staff for 8 years. And that's when I read this book called Real Life by Chung, which he talks about how every generation asks a spiritual question. I mentioned this on the other podcast, but I'm going to mention it here.
It's great.
Every generation asks a spiritual question, and that spiritual question points people to God, to Jesus. And so for boomers, their spiritual question was what is true. And so you see a rise of the apologetics movement. For Gen Xers, their spiritual question is what is real. And so you see a rise of folks who didn't want to have an argument, just real, authentic conversation.
Yeah.
Millennials, their spiritual question is what is good. And so you see a rise of millennials wanting to do good and just work in the world. And then he predicts Gen Z, what's their spiritual question? And he predicted their spiritual question would be what is beautiful. And when I read that, I just deeply resonated with it because we were becoming already such a visual generation. This was before the Instagram influencer. This was when Snapchat started becoming popular. This was when Netflix binging became a thing.
Yeah.
And for me, as someone that was ministering to students and starting to minister to art students, I planted a ministry at Art Center College of Design in Pasadena. And seeing how people were related with faith who were artists, I wanted to show the world that God was beautiful. And so I meet my co-founder. His name is Brian Chung. Same exact name. His is spelled with a Y. I'm spelled with an I.
Okay.
And we're having this conversation about art and faith. He's also was ministering to students at Art Center. He was also from USC. And I shared to him, well, hey, let's do something. Let's do something about this. Let's reach the next generation of folks to see the world, to see God as beautiful. And I shared with him my idea of the Bible designed like a magazine, that idea that happened about 10 years ago. Wow. His eyes lit up and he said, let's do it. And so I said, great.
Wow.
And so that was the birth and the start of Alabaster.
That's so awesome.
Long story. I'm just gonna stop there because I'm sure you have questions.
Well, what I love is the fact that you reiterated that this is 10 years in between that first idea of like, gosh, what if the Bible was more like this? What would this mean? And that somewhere in the midst of that, you also have this book that you've read that reinforces this idea of beauty, and then to meet somebody else, to meet another Brian, who is just like
he filled out a contact card, and I literally walked up to him and said, "Are you Brian Chung? Are you this guy?" Because
that's so
I have
crazy.
the same name.
That's so crazy. So I blanked on that. So this is a student that you have met while you're a staff. You've met a student.
Yes, he was a student and then graduated, and while graduating was also on staff.
Wow.
And so, like I said, without InterVarsity, Alabaster would not be here today.
My goodness. That is amazing. That is amazing. God's just like, we don't just need one Brian Chung on this. We actually need two Brian Chungs on this project.
100% from InterVarsity.
Yeah. That's so great. But I love that season of like that 10-year period. There's something about that is just really powerful to me of like, man, there's this idea that God planted in you. And just because it didn't happen, just because there wasn't like fruit of that idea immediately, doesn't mean that you misheard or that it was just your own idea, that it was God saying like, start getting ready. I'm going to start introducing things that are going to reinforce and start to bring this back around. I'm going to bring you a partner in this work, and you will know when it's time to take off from here. And that 10 years later, okay, here we go. Let's do it. And that is such a fantastic story of like sort of this mutual faithfulness between you and the Lord of like, here's an idea, I'm going to hang on to it. We'll see where this goes. And then, all right, here we go. We're off to the races. So then did Alabaster just like poof? Okay, the two of you have agreed. What happens next in the building of Alabaster?
Okay, well, the name Alabaster came from that story, the one with the alabaster jar. One of the first time that Jesus mentions the word beautiful in the book of Mark. Okay.
Yes.
And so what we did, we had no background in bookmaking.
Okay.
We had no idea what we were doing. We just were like, okay, let's just make a mock of what we want it to look like. Okay. So we designed 12 pages, and we went to your local print shop. And if this was the book, only 12 pages were printed, and that's what we showed. And so we decided to launch a Kickstarter, which is a crowdfunding campaign, and so people can sort of place back the project, right? And they would receive an award. And so one of the awards was our Alabaster Bibles.
Yes. Okay.
And so we had 12 pages and the rest were blank. But I was like, you know what? We don't even know it's going to sell well. Or but we wanted to make sure that people actually wanted it before actually making it.
Of course.
So we launched it on Kickstarter. We got actually a lot of feedback from students, InterVarsity students. We did a survey with InterVarsity students and said, would you get this? How much would you pay for it? Who do you think this is for? Our first mock-ups were like, hey, we would hand it over. I would hand it over to my students and I would say, so would you actually use this?
Yeah, that's awesome.
And why Kickstarter was, okay, here's another InterVarsity connection, was my mentor also was from InterVarsity.
Okay.
And, he helped guide me and show me what to do with Kickstarter.
Wow.
Anyways,
amazing.
We put it up online.
The guy's just like supplying all of these people, all of these resources that you need just through your InterVarsity connections. If that's not an encouragement to stay connected with your InterVarsity people, because you just don't know who's going to show up right when you need them. Like, come on, alumni.
100%. So we got a lot of feedback first. We launched a Kickstarter, and within 10 days, it got fully funded. Our goal was $30,000.
Oh my gosh.
By the end of the campaign, it was about $59,000.
Wow.
And what ended up happening was, this was back in the day of Facebook, okay, everybody? Was everyone started sharing it on Facebook. And it was this network effect of all the students started sharing it, all the alumni started sharing it. And one of our InterVarsity students worked at the USC newspaper.
Okay.
And she was like, we would love to cover your story.
What?
Yeah. So they write about Alabaster through the Daily Trojan, gets published. 7 days later, the Huffington Post reaches out. See, I saw your story on the Daily Trojan. Could we cover your story?
Okay.
Huffington Post writes about us. I think a couple days later, BibleGateway.com reaches out and says, we would also love to cover your story.
Oh my gosh.
And so there was this moment where I'm like, oh my, like, I did not expect this.
Yeah.
And gosh, this is such another like God story and moment. And I feel free to bring me back. Okay.
No, keep going. I can't stop you here.
I remember I majored in business, but prior to going to USC majoring in business, I was involved in yearbook in high school.
Okay.
In Hawaii. And I remember thinking to myself, I would love to make things like this one day, like magazines, one day.
Yeah.
And years later, that was I don't want to date myself. But years later,
a few
you're 10 years after that first initial idea. I'm making a magazine. But not just any magazine. It's the Bible designed like a magazine.
Right. And when you had that initial thought, this was before you met InterVarsity, before you knew Jesus. You said this is when you're like in high school, right? Working on a yearbook. So even back then, God's like planting ideas in your heart 100%. That you don't actually have context for yet. And,
I had no
oh my
idea. And I remember
gosh, that's
this got fully
unbelievable.
funded. And I remember in my prayer time, and I was like, God, this is so wild of you. And
Yeah.
I feel so grateful and honored that you still remember what I wanted to do. And here it is.
Unbelievable.
I'm making Bible magazines. Okay, so where was I in the story? Gets fully funded.
Yeah.
And then we're like, oh, gosh. Oh, shit, we got to make the book now.
Yeah. Yeah. That whole acting on the thing.
And so we didn't have any printer. We didn't have any warehouse space. And so that was just, we had to start looking. And
Wow.
like I said, my mentor, who was running an e-commerce business, provided me with our first warehouse space. He let me use it for free
What?
to help ship out our books. It took us about 6 months to make it. And
Okay.
we found a designer. The designer is also from InterVarsity, was part of
No.
InterVarsity at Art Center.
Oh, that's
her name was
amazing.
Josephine, and she was the first designer of Alabaster. She was absolutely amazing.
Wow.
And we shipped the product out in 2017. I have
Wow.
I have another crazy story after that. but we can-
Okay. Well, no, well, you tell me where it fits better, because you've alluded to this, the story from Mark, the alabaster jar. You've talked about beauty being the first time. That's the first time that comes up in Mark. I know that faith is another important word that comes up as you talk about alabaster. So I'd love to know more. Like, can you take us even deeper and put this story wherever it's helpful in just helping us understand, like, why, even beyond your own personal experience, why beauty and faith are the words that sort of carry Alabaster forward in the way that it's branded, in the way that it's given to the public. Like, what is it about those words that drive the work that you're doing?
Yeah, that's a really great question. Beauty. When I think about beauty, I think about what's the opposite of beauty.
Mm,
And for many folks, they would say ugly.
yeah.
And as I think about my experience with people who aren't Christian, or who might have fallen away from the faith, I would say that's how they would describe Christians,
Mm,
or even God, as ugly. And so, when I think about beauty, I think about those other words: truth, real, goodness. I think it's a summation of all three.
mm,
And wanting to show the world that God is not ugly, but God is in fact really, really beautiful.
yeah.
And I think beauty also because I think for me, we were also like the creation of Alabaster was also inspired by things that are not new, like creating beautiful pieces of artwork that glorify God is not new. It's
Right.
not a new idea. That's why there's the word masterpiece in music. It's to
Yeah.
point to the master.
Wow.
When we visit older churches, there's beautiful stained glass windows, beautiful pieces of artwork that pointed people to God. If you think about the Renaissance paintings, beautiful pieces of artwork that pointed people to God. And there's a lot of visuals and media that we consume and that we see every single day. And my question would be, do they point people to God? And what would it look like to actually create beautiful pieces of artwork that pointed people to God? I remember, I don't do the artwork in our Bibles these days, but I would say I still do some like design aesthetic work. And back in my InterVarsity days, I did do some graphic designs for the ministry.
Okay.
But when I remember when I was first trying to integrate into the church, I was like, how do I still use my creative talents to glorify God? And I would say that just was very hard. There was no natural spot other than making the PowerPoint look pretty, okay? And I
Which
thought to
is
myself,
very needed.
very, very, very needed. There's nothing like an ugly PowerPoint.
Oh my gosh, I've
But I was
seen
like,
many of them.
I want to use my creative gifts and talents to glorify God's, I wouldn't describe myself as a Renaissance painter.
Okay, sure.
But I would say how can I create beautiful pieces of artwork and when people look at it, they worship God?
Yeah.
Because I think when people look at artwork on their phone or media on their phone, it leads them to worship other things.
Mm.
And so I think that's why beauty, answering that question or showing the world that God is beautiful is really, really important, because there's so much competing things that are trying to claim beauty.
Yes. Yeah. And I mean, and we live in a world where we have such quick access to so many things. And so if you can, and like visual access to so many things. And so to be able to take something that's like, man, beauty is something that people are looking for in a world that is so like broken, in a world that that we have such easy access to such like the ugliest parts of humanity in a way that we never have before, unless you were just right there as it was happening live, to be able to put something beautiful in people's world that isn't just beautiful by its own right, but is beautiful because it is pointing to the creator. It is pointing to the one who started beauty. Like he was the OG beautiful one, and giving us beauty in creation and saying that this like creation points to me. And so that you get to add to that with the work that you're doing and saying, this is an element of creation that creates beautiful things, that points things to the beautiful creator. And that's a phenomenal work and a phenomenal aim for Alabaster to have. And I really love that. Brian, you had another story that I asked you that question, and I think it took us off track of your story.
Oh, yeah,
Tell me, because one of the things that I want to know is like, I'd like to know stories, either more background story or stories and testimonials from people who have gotten to experience some of the work that you've done. So please, across the board, I want to hear more about these real life moments.
Okay, fun story. So the first books that we released were Matthew, Mark, and John.
Okay.
And I was in particular really proud of the book of Mark, because as InterVarsity alum, we love the book of Mark.
Of course, yes.
And so we started shipping out our Bibles out. And all of a sudden, we get an email from a customer about the book of Mark.
Mm.
This customer, believe it or not, is an InterVarsity alum. And he goes, Brian, I think something's wrong. And I was like, oh, what's wrong? What's wrong? Oh no,
okay.
Oh no. And he says, his name is Tim Lee. I'll give him a little plug because he was the one that found it. And he says, I think that there are verses missing from the book of Mark. And I said, oh no, what happened? So we drive to the warehouse. Again, the warehouse is like 40 minutes away. We drive to the warehouse. We tear open the crate and we pull up the books, and we literally go in to where he's saying, I'm like, is this just a one book? Is it multiple books? And we go book by book by book, trying to check to see how big of an issue this is. And it's every single book has verses missing. Okay. It was a design issue. I can't even tell you the design thing. My co-founders are better at describing what actually happened. But there were verses missing.
Something went wrong.
Something went wrong. And so the question is, what do we do now?
Yeah.
What do we do? Right? There are a couple different options. One, just let it be. We sent you a Bible with missing verses, and just let it be. Okay. Sorry, I'll just rewind. And I said all the money that we used to that back the project went into printing the books.
Sure.
It's not like we're sitting on any excess money here. Okay.
Yeah, it's been spent.
We found it's very expensive to print these books.
Oh wow. Okay.
We found a great manufacturer in Canada, super high quality, but we spent it on the inventory.
Mm.
So we had a question: what do we do? Let it be. And not just even let it be, tell our customers let it be.
Yeah.
Let our customers know and let it be. Reprint everything. What would you do?
Oh my gosh. Don't even ask me that question.
I think it was about $20,000 of a mistake right there.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
Here's what
did you do?
Did. I mean, here's what we did. I mean, one of the things that I would say InterVarsity, but ultimately God has taught me is about having integrity as a leader. And for me, that spills in what does it look like for us to have integrity as a business?
Yeah.
And so we made the difficult we made a difficult decision to reprint everything, let our customers know, and we reshipped them everything. And they said, what do we do with these other ones? And I said, this could be a little scavenger hunt for you. Find the places. You can write the words in yourself.
Oh my gosh.
So anyways, that was a fun story, but it was because of an InterVarsity alum and staff worker.
Yeah.
So like I said, Alabaster would not be here without InterVarsity.
Man, in so many steps along the way. Okay, but I have to know that so early on. I mean, we're just gonna go deep into the story of Alabaster further and further here. But I got to know, like, okay, so you make this very costly decision to go back. I mean, it's hard to make it as a business that is like hitting 100% of the shots that you take. Like, it's hard when you have a costly decision or a costly fix like that so early on. How do you recover? How do you keep going? Like, what was it that made it so that you could keep going after that moment?
We got to sell more books, everybody.
Okay. It was a time to just like dig in your heels and say, we got to keep going.
We got to sell more books, everyone.
Yeah. Okay. As simple as that. As that.
I mean, I think I can go really, really deep into the weeds about the business decisions, how we went about it, how we talked with our manufacturer, how we caught the mistake, how we want to make sure the mistake never happened again.
Yeah.
But one of the biggest things that InterVarsity has taught me is the value of relationships. And as I think about business, I don't think business, and what my mentor would say is that doing business is not meant to be a transaction. And that doing business is all about a relationship. And so that reminded me of how I just learned how to do everything in my life. It was through InterVarsity, it was through relationship. Yeah. And so we had a really, really great relationship with our manufacturer. And so we were able to have a conversation. What exactly happened? Could we figure out some terms or process to make us reprinting and sending these over better for our customers? Yeah.
Wow. Because we live in an age where it feels like it's sort of a you got to stick up for yourself. If something goes wrong, like, you got to speak up and make it known that something happened here that wasn't your fault, and you're not going to be held accountable for something, whatever, some of these things. But that instead your course of action was to say, yes, how can we right what went wrong here for our customers in particular? But how can we preserve relationship, and how can we move forward together through this process? And that's not an easy decision to make. Like, that's an integrity move. That's a how do we deal with, like, how would Jesus deal with this situation? Like, let's approach it that way as best as we can. And you, after already making a really difficult decision of saying, like, let's make this right, you follow that up with another difficult integrity decision of, like, let's maintain relationship moving forward through a difficult thing. And that is that's fantastic. I love that story. That is amazing. Brian, one of the things that I like to do on this podcast is to ask people questions that have very obvious answers. And let this just be another invitation to tell more stories. Okay. Yes. So if you have more stories locked in, tell them now. Okay. But do it as a response to this question. And that is, would you say that Alabaster, the work that you're doing with Alabaster, is a place where you get to partner with God in his world-changing work?
100%. Very easy question. So, to go back to your other previous question about the impact of our work. Yeah. It's been absolutely amazing to see people experience God through our products. And when I was with students and interacting with students, it was great to see face to face. But there's only so much that I could do. There's only one Brian.
Yeah.
And to now impact, I think we've had over 1 million of our books sold.
What? Wow.
To see the impact of our work impacting 1 million people has been absolutely amazing.
Wow.
But there's some stories that I'll never forget. One person sent us like a Facebook message.
Okay.
They're from Taiwan and they're not religious. But they said, but I read this Bible.
Whoa.
This Bible makes it easy for me to read God's word.
Wow.
And that's absolutely amazing. I didn't expect that at all. We have since branched into Bible studies, and we have heard people say, this has helped me understand the Bible. This has helped, they would say, yank the stress out of me. That's not in my language, but they use that.
Yank the stress out of me?
They said this Bible study yanked the stress out of me of trying to understand the Bible.
Wow. I'm trying to figure out which one. You mentioned all of those generations earlier in our conversation. I'm trying to figure out which generation that phrase came from.
Yes.
But that's great.
Yeah. And so I would say that's been like super. Every week, we have a time where we share testimonials of how our products are impacting our customers to the entire company.
Wow.
And we read them out loud to everyone to see the impact. And it's been
so
really,
good.
really rewarding. But I would say the impact that I care about the most now is actually the world-changing work that I get to do with my team and my employees.
Yeah.
So I know I started off like, it was like I get to really impact just like a small group of people, like that Bible study or that large group meeting, and then now like 1 million books sold. But I keep going back to like the 12. Like Jesus had his 12.
Yeah.
Then he had his 3, and then he had his 1. And I would say my team and my employees are people that I really think about how can I partner with God to change the world, to change their world.
Yeah.
To change the world through them.
Yeah.
I never would have expected that. But I think it kind of goes back to what I learned in InterVarsity. Change the campus, change the world.
There you go. Oh, man.
And it kind of goes back to like the value of it isn't just about the number, it's about the person in front of me.
Yes.
And so I absolutely love that part of my job. I love that I get to partner with God to see God move amongst my team and my employees and seeing their lives change. I remember when we first started off, like I was just like, I'll just take anyone can, just anyone that's okay with me not paying them that much. Yeah. We're a startup here. We're bootstrapping. We're not a VC funded business. We're just trying to make Bibles. Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm incredibly grateful that this is my job. I tell that to my team. They make fun of me for saying that. They're like, but you chose this job. You made this job for yourself. And I said, yes, but I am incredibly grateful that I have this job.
Oh, that's so awesome. Well, because I love the fact that you walk in both of these worlds of like the big numbers and the intimate relationships, because we live in a time where it feels like, and I, as a podcaster, like this is something that I wrestle with all the time, is the numbers, the metrics, how many people are downloading and coming back and all this, that, and the other. And you can go crazy thinking about that stuff, but we live in a time where it feels like that is the pursuit, like grow your following, more and more people engaging, so maybe you can get paid for the work that you're doing because of all these people, that you have that experience of like, we've sold 1 million copies of the things that we are making. That is huge. And then for you to be able to turn around and say, but the thing that is most impactful that I get to watch, like I believe that God is working in those big numbers, because every one of those numbers is a person. but that you get to have this intimate level of impact with your team and the people that are working alongside of you, and you get to see that stuff happen. And like, what an invitation for each of us that's listening in today to say, like, yeah, God, like the things that we're doing and putting out into the world, hopefully we're trusting that God is like impacting larger circles of people than we realize with those things. But that maybe the most fulfilling impact that we can have is just like with the person across the hall at work, with the person, with our neighbor down the street, with our own family, the people that we are interacting with regularly, and to say, like, what if this is the most important level of impact, or these people that I rub shoulders with every day, and that I can see the change over the course of time. And I love that has been your lived experience, is that you get to do these big out there things, but it's those people right next to you that you're like, this is where the magic happens.
I love that. I think you summarized that really well.
That's great. I'm glad. This is so much fun, Brian. I want to keep talking to you forever, because I think that there's so many stories. Maybe we just need to talk again sometime. But
Yes.
before we run out of time, please, like, tell us how we can engage with Alabaster. You're joining us at a time where people are thinking about gifts and even like Bible study rhythms for next year. Help us, like, tell us what's happening at Alabaster right now, so that we can tell alumni how to engage with what you're doing.
Awesome. Well, thank you for giving me the opportunity, because I would say that Alabaster is the perfect gift.
Yeah, of course.
I'll just share a couple of different things.
Okay, sweet.
Most people know us for our Bibles. So
Okay.
we make beautiful Bibles that look like magazines or coffee table books. They're really rare, like really great.
Yes.
But I have some other things that folks might not know that we do. So we have these really beautiful devotionals. This one is called On Beauty and Faith. It goes through the woman with the alabaster jar and stories around that. So it's a little
that seems
more
appropriate.
devotional style. Okay, some of the people's favorite. So these are our
Okay.
customers' favorite. Okay,
Yes.
This is the most popular book. It's called A Beautiful Year in the Bible.
Okay.
I know for many Christians, they have not read the Bible the entire year.
Mm.
And if you want to make this a goal in your life, this is the book for you.
Okay.
This
All
will
right.
help you go through the entire Bible in 1 year. And what we particularly did with this one, I'm just going to go and share, because I love our product so much, is that we do it thematically. So every week is a theme. And so it breaks
Okay.
down the Bible thematically. And so for this week, you're reading about repairing relationships.
Okay.
As a synopsis, as well as a little devotional. And then you have a daily reading that you can check off to make sure you're reading the entire Bible in a year. You have some reflection questions as well, alongside a beautiful prayer.
Mm.
As with anything Alabaster, it is beautiful and stunning. We partnered with a TikTok viral artist. Her name is Yumi. She does these really beautiful. This is actually a painted artwork that we took a photo of. So it's not like digital. They actually painted this.
Wow.
And every single week is all original artwork
goodness.
to go alongside the theme of the week.
If you all are just listening to this episode and not watching, you need to jump over to YouTube so that you can see what I'm seeing right now. It's amazing.
It's absolutely stunning. This book is primarily for women, but other folks can read this too.
Yeah, of course.
Okay. So that was our most popular book. And we released that last year, and the reception was absolutely amazing. But we got some feedback. Some feedback was, I don't have time to read the entire Bible in 1 year, which I totally get. Okay. I totally get.
Work up
life
to
after
it.
college, really, really busy. You might have kids for the first time. It's, I get it.
Yeah.
So we made this book. It's the follow-up, A Beautiful Year with Jesus. The 365-day Bible devotional.
Nice.
Okay, so what I love about this book is if you only have 5 minutes a day and you're looking to connect with God every single day, this is the book for you.
That's the one.
And so every day, it's 365. So you see on the corner over there. Sorry for everyone that's listening audibly, but there's the day. So you can stay connected with God every single day. Every day there's a Bible verse, a devotional as well as a prayer, so you can stay connected with God
Awesome.
every day. And similar to the other book, every day is all original artwork
Wow.
in the book.
That's
Really
so
stunning.
crazy. Gosh.
We have this leather bound. This might be sold out by the time this podcast is released.
Okay.
Because the team we're like, let's do leather bound. And they're like, okay, how much leather bound we should do? And I'm like, I don't know, maybe just like a few thousand. And then they made it. And I mean, look at this back. Like, it's super stunning. Everyone on our
That's so
team
cool.
loves the leather bound.
Yeah.
And I was like, gosh, we're gonna sell out of this quickly, particularly for Christmas.
I guess we shouldn't have done a limited run of this one.
But, yeah, exactly. And we have some other things. I think for the holiday, we have this book called My Mom's Testimony. And so if you're looking to remember your mom's testimony for generations, it's a guided journal. So you can interact with your mom.
Wow.
Or your dad. We have my dad's testimony. Interact with your dad about their spiritual lives. And so you can fill that out. Or if you are a parent and want something to pass down, you could also fill it out yourself and pass it down to your children as a gift.
So cool.
But if you couldn't tell, I love our products.
Yes.
They're so exciting. I want them in person's hands. But that's how you could be supporting Alabaster.
That's awesome. Oh, man. Brian, this has been so fantastic. Thank you.
Oh,
go ahead, please.
Alabasterco.com.
Thanks for tuning in, alumni. If you know someone who would enjoy the InterVarsity World Changers podcast, please be sure to share the episode with them. You can also support the podcast by leaving a rating and a review or by visiting our donation page in the show notes. InterVarsity World Changers is brought to you by the InterVarsity Alumni Relations Team, hosted and produced by John Steele, production assistance by Mike Santera, and edited by Caleb Leppert. Our theme song is Crazy by InterVarsity alumnus Andy Minio. Go change that world, alumni.